Famous cricketers, how they might look when they're old. Michael Clarke, old look. Jason Holder, old look. Liam Livingstone, old look. Tamba Bavuma, old look. Glenn Phillips, old look. Travis Head, old look. Fakhar Zaman, old look. Hardik Pandya, old look. Johnny Bairstow, old look. Lasith Malinga, old look. Colin Munro, old look. Tamim Iqbal, old look. Nicholas Poran, old look. Mitchell Stark, old look. Mohammad Nabi, old look. Shubman Gill, old look. Josh Hazelwood, old look. Surya Kumar Yadav, old look. Shadab Khan, old look. Yuvraj Singh, old look. Sikandar Raza, old look. Shreya Iyer, old look. Dale Steyn, old look. Usman Khawaja, old look. Andre Russell, old look. Haris Rauf, old look. Tilakaratna Dilshan, old look. Devin Convey, old look. Ishan Kishan, old look. David Miller, old look. Marcus Stoinis, old look. James Anderson, old look. Sachin Tendulkar, old look. Lunjingiri, old look. Naveen ul Haq, old look. Hassan Ali, old look. Jos Butler, old look. Virat Kohli, old look. Quinton de Kock, old look. Lockie Ferguson, old look. Glenn Maxwell, old look. Babar Azam, old look. KL Rahul, old look. Mohammad Amir, old look. Wanandu Hasaranga, old look. Brendan McCullum, old look. Rashid Khan, old look. Ian Morgan, old look. Axar Patel, old look. Marnus Labuschagne, old look. Ben Stokes, old look. Harbhajan Singh, old look. Mitchell Santner, old look. Alex Hales, old look. Mohammad Siraj, old look. Rachin Ravindra, old look. Rishabh Pant, old look. Mohammad Rizwan, old look. Jofra Archer, old look. Aiden Markram, old look. Chris Gayle, old look. Daryl Mitchell, old look. Steve Smith, old look. Rahmanullah Gurbaz, old look. Faf du Plessis, old look. MS Dhoni, old look. Naseem Shah, old look. Ravichandran Ashwin, old look. Ross Taylor, old look. Brett Lee, old look. Chris Wokes, old look. Pat Cummins, old look. Kane Williamson, old look. A.B. de Villiers, old look. Jasprit Bumrah, old look. Kumar Sangakkara, old look. Martin Guptill, old look. Moeen Ali, old look. Shoaib Malik, old look. Shane Watson, old look. Shakib Al Hassan, old look. Kusal Mendes, old look. Rohit Sharma, old look. Shaheen Shah, old look. David Warner, old look. Kieran Pollard, old look. Harry Brook, old look. Suresh Raina, old look. Phil Salt, old look. Shahid Afridi, old look. Yashasvi Jaiswal, old look. Mitchell Johnson, old look. Finn Allen, old look. David Willey, old look. Trent Boult, old look. JP Duminy, old look. Joe Root, old look. Ravindra Jadeja, old look. Adam Zampa, old look. Sam Curran, old look. Kuldeep Yadav, old look. Kagiso Rabada, old look. Mitchell Marsh, old look. Shimron Hetmeyer, old look. Stuart Broad, old look. Sunil Nareen, old look. Mohammad Shami, old look. Saim Ayub, old look. Fazalak Faruqi, old look. Mohammad Hafiz, old look. James Neesham, old look. Heinrich Clausen, old look. Shivam Dubey, old look. Mark Wood, old look. Fahim Ashraf, old look. Adil Rashid, old look. Jason Roy, old look. Dwayne Bravo, old look. Tim Southey, old look. Ben Duckett, old look. Marco Jansen, old look. Dinesh Karthik, old look. Alex Carey, old look. Mathisha Patharana, old look. Mark Chapman, old look. Shea Hope, old look. Kevin Peterson, old look. Tabriz Shamsi, old look. Salman Ali Agha, old look. Azmatullah Omarzai, old look. Tim David, old look. Abhishek Sharma, old look. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more and feel free to binge a few other videos while you're here.